Let's talk about those Cowboys. Their defense led the NFL in takeaways during Dan Quinn's 3 seasons as their defensive coordinator. They did so by pressuring the quarterback. Under Quinn, Dallas pressured opposing QBs on 36% of their dropbacks. That was the highest rate in the NFL. But with Quinn leaving Dallas now, head coach for the Commanders, Mike Zimmer takes over as the Cowboys DC. And Zim talked about coming into this well-established unit, and he said, and I quote, "Usually when I come in, the defense is not good, you know? They're pretty darn good. So it's a little different for me because we have to advance some of the things we were doing good and try to improve on the things they weren't doing so good. But for the most part, they played pretty darn good. And we're going to try to accentuate that, maybe a little more technique-oriented, maybe a little more disciplined, some of those things," close quote.
I thought that quote was really interesting from him. He talked about the things they did well and accentuating things they didn't do well. As Damian said, Mike's known for his simulated pressures, the infamous AA gap blitz in Minnesota. Yeah, I think we'll see some of that, and I expect that the Cowboys will continue to rush the passer at a high level. That's not what they didn't do well, though. What he is probably alluding to or talking around was the fact that they really struggled to defend the run, particularly in the later part of the season. Now, it should be noted, a lot of those struggles were due to personnel. In fact, when we look at the groupings that they use, Dallas used their base defense, meaning when they just had 4 DBs on the field, less than 4% of the time. They were living in dime with 3 safeties, in large part because they did not have they literally ran out of linebackers on this team to injury. So now you bring in Eric Kendricks, who's a veteran, Overshawn, who was a rookie last year and lost the season due to injury. He was a 3rd-round draft pick, will play. I think we're going to see a little bit more base defense, and I think it's going to be incumbent upon Zimmer to get them to play the run better from a technique perspective as well.
You know, not all first-year coordinators are created equal. Through the lens of Mike McCarthy, I'm telling Mike Zimmer, we have about 5 minutes to transition here. I don't want to hear, like, for the first month of September, we're getting the kinks worked out or we're trying some new calls. Mike McCarthy is under enormous pressure. We all know that. He's in the last year of his contract. So from a head coach perspective, we're going to do what we do well, maybe tweak a couple of things, as you guys mentioned, like simulated pressures. But by and large, we have to be great from day one. And I agree with Mina that Eric Kendricks is a consequential acquisition because they were really undersized at linebacker towards the end of last year. Maybe Stephon Gilmore is signed as a depth at corner, but this has to be a defense that hits the ground running.
By the way, Micah Parsons has not been there. Not last week, not this week for OTAs. Did show up for media day, but no practices. It's probably worth noting.